Welcome to Make Pods Great Again. I'm your host, John, back with my girl, Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I feel like I haven't seen you in a minute.
I know. Well, you're seeing me now. And before we get into the podcast, let's talk about our sponsor tonight, Wadproof. That's it's the timer people, right?
Yeah, the timer people. Exactly. You probably already know because they're like the easiest way to record your open workouts if you're looking for, to make sure that you have your exact time and angle and whatever done. But what's really cool now is Wadproof has a new program. It's called Wadproof Coins, where you basically like collect these virtual coins. And I don't know anything about what is it, like Bitcoin, like
Bitcoin,
cellular
yeah,
money?
sweet.
It's not Bitcoin. It's not Bitcoin.
Um,
I don't, but I'm just saying I'm probably not talking about it right. But you basically like collect rewards for every workout that you do with their app, which is cool because then you can use those coins to get big discounts when you shop online. And they have partnered with a bunch of like really big brands that you know and love, brands like Airwave, our buddies with the mouthpieces,
nice.
Two Pood, Rock Tape, Pure Spectrum, Wadendon, Caffeine and Kilos, Born Primitive. I'm on their website right now looking at all these different brands that they're working with. So like you're going to use their app anyway. You're going to use Wadproof to record your open performance. You might as well get in there, collect coins, do some online shopping, get some new gear. You know how it goes.
I feel like my workouts have been so bad, I would end up owing them money somehow. I don't,
Take it all back. But if you wanna learn some more information, make sure that you are collecting ya coins. You can visit wadproofapp.com/wadproof-coins.
there you go. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the Open. How's 21
Ooh.
1 treating you?
It was good. I had a bunch of prego modifications, but I think my stimulus was right because I was doing incline push-ups and strict presses, and then I was on the air bike for double unders, protecting that pelvic floor. You know what's up. And it was rough. Like I could barely do three strict presses in a row. My shoulders were dead. My lungs were tired. So I think the stimulus was correct. How about you?
Oh, it's fine. Well, first of all, somebody sent me a video of old Roy, my dad, doing 21 1, so that was kind of fun.
Stop. How was
Yes.
it for
Well,
him?
I haven't talked to him, but I saw the video and he was doing bear crawls and jumping jacks. He looked like he was
Yeah.
not enjoying himself at all, so it was probably as good as the rest of us.
My brother also did. This is his first open. I can't believe he signed up. I didn't even ask him to. I thought it was going to be too much. Like he just got into CrossFit and his little sister's like obsessed with all things competition. So I didn't want to put pressure on him. He signed up himself and also did bear crawls and jumping jacks and crushed. I mean, looked miserable, but crushed.
Well, bear crawls are not a gift. Like those things are not
No.
easy. So I'm sure it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun for me. I can tell you right off. Like I kind of went in, I RX this one, and I went in like kind of happy go lucky, thinking, all right, well, I'm just gonna go have fun. Like I don't
Yeah.
feel like I'm in my best shape, and now I'm kind of depressed that I could have gotten a better score than I did. It's just kind of a bummer. I did real well on the double unders. Like that's a good movement for me, so I kind of blew through those pretty well. Um, I didn't go as hard as I should have in the wall walks early. Like
Mm,
I was trying to pace it, and now in hindsight, I think I should have gone hard early and tried to save some time because I don't think they would have been any harder with a high heart rate than they were at the heart rate I had. It was
right.
just fatigue kind of at that point, but I just ran out of time, and I feel like I've got through 13 of the wall walks in the round of 15, and I should have been able to wrap that up. I had plenty of time to wrap it up. I should have been able to wrap that up and get back into the dubs, and it just didn't. So it's like any
And
other
you,
open workout. Like you always feel like you can do better, and it's depressing. And I'm committed doing one and done. Like I'm not going to
that's
go
what I was
do
just
it
gonna
again.
ask. I
So
was just gonna say that's why people do it again.
yeah, I'm not doing it again. Like I'll just deal with my depression.
All right,
So
deal,
it's
deal.
okay. Well, it's like one of those things. Like I don't feel like I've fully recovered from the virus, and like I'm just not in the best shape I've ever been because of that. I kind of got to have like a month off,
Hmm.
and it's like it's not worth it doing it twice. It's just not. And truthfully, I'm sure like everyone else, because I've seen the videos, like people have been sending me stuff hand over fist. Like it
Mm.
wrecked me, shoulders, ankles, wrists, toes. Everybody, I don't know how many people are listening, had like
Toes.
toe problems from like smacking on the floor when you come off the
Oh,
wall. Oh, so bad. My left foot hurt. it was not, and then I had Saxon like staring at me the whole time, which is just nerve wracking. I mean, I love Sax, but he just has this glassy eyed look of boredom as
Of
I'm,
boredom.
yes, as I'm like laying on the floor taking a nap. Like at one point, I literally just shout down. There's like a whole line of people down the wall, and I shout out, "Somebody get me a pillow!" And they all laugh, and he's just staring at me like I'm an asshole, you know. But,
Oh, well, not everyone can be as fit as you, Saxon. Just
yeah,
saying.
well, it was fun though. Like I'm kind of looking forward to finding out what's next and
Yeah, me
moving on
too.
with my life.
I liked it. I'm just going to say that out loud. I thought it was genius programming. Well, way to be different and still high skill and shocking. And I liked it.
I will say the one thing that's bothered me, I like the programming too. I'm on full accord. We've been doing wall walks since I started CrossFit. It's like one of the
Yeah,
first
of
movements I
course.
learned. So it wasn't like, oh my God, a new movement. But I have been annoyed by the number of people tagging me in videos done by athletes where they're calling no reps. I'm like, this isn't even a games qualifier. Like everybody just needs to chill out. Like chill out.
Yeah. Also, like,
You
who
know?
made you? Well, I mean, this is a loaded question, but like, who made you internet judge McGee? But that's like the internet is full of garbage and trolls. So whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you see that in other sport, like golf is that way. People call in fouls and stuff. It's like, or errors made by the athletes. And I don't know, it just bugs me. Like the people I watched somebody slow down Tia's video
Oh
and
my
and
God.
literally going, look, her foot's off the wall. Look, her hands off the floor. They're just like railing on it. I'm like, oh my God, seriously, just calm down. This is not that important.
No, and also like CrossFit headquarters has its own team that's going to review every video. It's within everyone's best interest to make sure that all the submissions are correct. Like internet sleuth number 294,000. We do not need your expertise. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been an interesting first week. So big fun.
Garbage. The internet is full of hot garbage.
Speaking of hot garbage,
Speaking
that's
of,
the whole reason we're on here is to talk about the Joe Rogan interview with Mat Frasers on the biggest podcast on the planet. Not our, second to ours.
second to, of course. I mean, they wish they could make pods great again.
Oh my God. Rogan's got like 16 million subscribers or some ridiculous number. And so getting Fraser on there, I thought was really, really, really cool. I don't know of any other CrossFitters that have been on there, people that exclusively CrossFit. So
No, I don't think there have been any. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. And I haven't listened to a lot. I'm a big fan of his, but I haven't listened to like a lot of his podcasts straight through. He's a great interviewer. Just as a professional interviewer, I was like, wow, you're personable and interesting on the same page as these people. It was cool. I liked it.
yeah, it was long. God, it was long.
It was long. It was very long.
Oh my
And
God.
unpopular opinion of mine, but like there are definitely like big chunks of that where I was like, well, I'm never getting that hour of my life back. But that's because I'm not an MMA person. So like listening to them like nerd out about like this guy weighed in on this and this guy, whatever. I was like, when are we getting to CrossFit?
Yeah, well, look, Joe likes to do that, and I don't listen to all of his podcasts. I listen to some. I certainly don't listen to 3 hours in a row. Like I got up because I knew we were going to do this. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do my homework, and I turn it on, and then I sit on the couch, and I literally sat there and listened for 3 hours. 3 hours. It was like eternal. Yeah, and to your point, like parts of it were really good and really interesting.
Yeah.
My ears would perk up, and then they start talking about whoever's fighting whoever. I'm like, all right, can we just skip this, please?
Right.
It's just
But
not
if
my
you're a
sport.
fan of all that stuff, I can totally understand why you'd be like, I need 4 hours next time. Like, I get it.
Yeah, it was interesting. And I'm with you. I think he's a good interviewer. He is personable. He's funny.
Yeah.
He always has interesting takes on things, even when he's like wildly wrong. He's still funny. So
I did think it was funny that like he clearly doesn't know. I thought he knew a lot about CrossFit. Like I thought he had done CrossFit in the past or whatever. And he was like a little bit like inquiring minds, like the way your grandma would ask you about CrossFit, the way you were doing it the first time, where he was like, now, okay, like, honey, is this the place where you go to get hurt? Like, is that, how are your knees today? Like, it was just funny to me the way he was like asking these questions. So I was like, wow, Joe really doesn't know anything about this sport.
I was kind of, Matt's a funny dude. I was kind of hoping Matt would punk him and just like, we did this event where we're juggling knives and this monkey came out and was throwing coconuts at us. Like just totally like the craziest thing, but he didn't. It was a bummer.
Missed opportunity.
Huge missed
Damn.
opportunity. Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting. For me, like, and I guess we'll just kind of jump right in. Like the the whole thing that was the biggest thing that was interesting to me has been kind of the, I don't want to call it a wild response. Our community is kind of known for, is overreacting the right word? Like, or just
Yes, it's the
reacting, like I hate to say overreacting. It's just
drunk
like,
reenactment.
yeah, like, look, everyone's got an opinion. And I get, as someone who clearly like I'm struggling to like formulate the thought here. It's like, I found it really ironic as I'm reading other people's thoughts and I'm like getting judgy that people are getting so fired up over this. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm also the guy that built this entire kind of enterprise around making fun of Jillian Michaels because she made fun of CrossFit one time, So
I'm with, yeah.
so
Okay.
like
I
I'm
hear
right.
the dichotomy in your situation.
Yeah, like I'm right in the fray. Like I get it. I do that too. But it was just interesting to me, like how, you had people fired up on one side that, talking about the things they wish Matt had done differently or they didn't like what he said, and people on the other side that are defending him, and it just didn't feel
Yeah,
like there was a lot in the middle. It was really interesting.
I agree. And I'm like just so I try to stay away from the drama so much that like he said this or I wish he would have whatever. Like that stuff is so not interesting to me. Like, whenever there's like feuds or people are battling each other and everyone's like just I don't know, taking sides, which is why when you were like, hey, I want to talk about this, I was kind of like, ugh, yeah, I guess I know we have to because it's like really big in our community. But then when you sent me some of your notes and some of your thoughts, I was like, oh, like, we're going to talk about some of the greater issues. And yes, we will drill down into like all of the drama. I get that we have to, but I really appreciated your particular takeaways from this podcast because there were some points that they maybe didn't talk about deeply that we should talk about deeply, but they brought them up in a sense. So like now they're topics that are out in the open. And I think you have a fresh take on how you looked at the entire thing that the internet did not have. I will say that.
I've never been accused of being fresh. Well, one thing I kept getting messages from people, they'd say, Matt shitting on CrossFit. And I didn't think he did at all, like not even a little. I thought he told some hard truths about CrossFit that maybe gave the appearance. Like what he didn't do was fangirl over CrossFit, which I think is what people want. Like,
yes.
I even had someone message me today and they say, well, he should be the brand ambassador of CrossFit. Like he missed an opportunity to talk about all the great things. I'm like, well, that wasn't what he was there for one. He's responding to questions that the interviewer, in this case, Joe Rogan's given him. And Joe's asking questions like, well, how do you get an affiliate? And he's just simply answering like, what do you want to make something up? And what was interesting, he didn't completely know, which was,
yeah, I did think that was funny.
It was funny. I didn't find it surprising. Somebody told me they thought it was really surprising. I'm like, why is that surprising? This guy trains for a living. He doesn't give a shit who owns the gym. Like he's,
right. And he doesn't really like waste his brain space on how do I open an affiliate 101. No, I agree with you. I didn't have a problem with his answers. I truly didn't. I don't feel like he needs to be a brand ambassador for the sport or fangirl over the sport. I was a little bit just bummed that there wasn't more like radiant positivity about our community or about the fans who love him so much or about his first gym that he started in Vermont, that they clearly like did have good coaches and made a great welcoming environment for him and convinced him to go compete. Like there is a heartwarming story behind that. So I was just bummed not to hear that stuff, but I don't think that he has any sort of responsibility to. I don't feel like he owes us.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm with you.
As a fan, I was like, damn, come on. I wish I would have. I want to hug you, man.
Well, I mean, I would like to hear the story about his, he kept talking about this gym where the coaches were great. And, I wouldn't mind hearing that story. I didn't feel like it was a missed part of the interview necessarily because I don't think Joe wanted to hear it. Like Joe wanted to know, tell me about like, what are kind of the main things about CrossFit? How do you own one? Like, how's this gym come to be? The part I thought was funny was, he's talking about his lifting when he was an Olympic lifter, and he didn't even tell his buddies he was CrossFitting until they saw him on ESPN. I thought that was the best. Like he's just embarrassed, like I'm embarrassed to be known as a CrossFitter, which I thought was great.
See, I thought it was funny, but again, it just made me kind of like bummed, like, oh man, are you too cool for us? Because I'm so nerdy about CrossFit and I want you to be like there with me. But it was definitely like, I think we all know those people, right? We all know those like weightlifters who joined or like old college athletes who joined who like don't necessarily want to admit that they're totally into CrossFit yet.
Well,
And I'm like, oh,
I don't know exactly what year that would have been. It probably would have been what, 2014,
something like
2013,
that.
maybe.
Yeah.
So let's say it's somewhere between 2013 and 2015, right? So in my mind, he didn't say this, so I'm making this up, but I can understand the thought process of being embarrassed. Like CrossFit has not always had the reputation it has today. You
Right.
know, like in the early days, for those of you who've been around long, if you remember Pukey, like you had
Yeah.
Pukey the clown was like kind of our mascot. We had this long running history of giving people rhabdo, or at least the
The
reputation.
perception of, yeah,
Yeah,
not
give it.
not
Yeah,
that.
like
Well, and if you're an Olympic weightlifter and you've studied breaking down these movements and you have seen people, from poor gyms with poor training bastardizing what what a snatch should be, then like I can understand the perception. But yeah, it was a bummer that like after he got into it for so long, he was still like, shh, don't tell though. Don't tell anyone.
well, yeah. Look, I mean, he's in a sport that they're literally training two movements, and and he said this is like you can go out and basically own a gym and after getting your L1 in 48 hours or over a weekend, and I can see where coming from that mindset that would feel embarrassing. Like you're training with people that have been training this discipline, and in a highly complex way for a long period of time, and now you're going over to a fitness method that has the viewpoint or the kind of reputation that it's quick and easy, which it isn't. But I think he was just trying to explain that mindset of when he started, so it didn't bother
Yeah.
me. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that should create a conversation in our community that like the barrier of entry into CrossFit is really low. Like it's $3,000 is what you need to pay your annual fees. You need an L1 that he's right. You get over the weekend, and you got to write an essay, and you need insurance. That's it. Like,
And a good name. And it is hard to come up
yes,
with a
it
good
is
name
hard to get a
these
good
days.
name, but I
Very
think that
difficult to name affiliates nowadays.
I do think the community has to think about that. Like I've said for a long period of time that from a consistency standpoint, from to protect the brand, should we just let anybody that wants to do this? Should you guys let me? I got $3,000 and a weekend to spare. I could go
Hmm.
own a gym, and I don't know shit about training. Like, I mean, I know how to train because I've done it for a long time, but I don't know how to coach people. Can you teach that in a weekend? They'd give me an affiliate if I asked. Probably, well, they probably wouldn't give me one, but
I mean, you're
you know,
blacklisted for sure. But no,
probably.
I hear what you're saying. At the same time, I think there are so many benefits to keeping the barrier of entry low for spreading the gospel of fitness, so to speak, and allowing people the opportunity to maybe own a business when they otherwise couldn't, maybe can't buy some sort of Globo Gym or other affiliation, but are absolutely cut out for the job. So I see your perspective, but I kind of understand keeping the barrier to entry low. And Matt even said on the podcast, like the cream will rise to the top. Like there are good gyms and bad gyms. There's good trainers and shitty trainers. And the one problem that I have about having that conversation, because he's not the first one to say it out loud, is that literally applies to every single gym. And that's just not something anyone ever says. People love to shit on CrossFit or the, easy affiliation or the L1 or whatever. But like, you could go and get a number of other certifications and go train X, Y, and Z at a gym and be a shitty trainer. You can be a shitty
Oh
personal
yeah,
trainer. You
of
can be a
course.
shitty kettlebell trainer. You can be a shitty yoga instructor. You can be a shitty whatever. So like, it's not any different. It just has a word attached to it, CrossFit, that is now globally well known. But like every sport has good trainers and shitty trainers. So
Well,
that's just the one thing that I'm like, every time I hear that, I'm like, that's the same for everyone though.
well, I don't disagree with that, and that was Glassman's philosophy, and it's never bothered me because I've always gone to good gyms, or at least I felt like they were good gyms. But
Same.
I've
Yeah.
been to a lot of gyms, and I've seen some really crappy ones, so I know they're out
Mm.
there. Um, I didn't feel like he was, crapping on CrossFit when he said it. I think he was just
No.
highlighting something. I think as a community, or at least, headquarters or, main office, whatever the heck they're calling themselves these
Oh, right,
days,
right, right. Yep.
they need to address in some capacity, like this survival of the fittest mentality. It can absolutely hurt you. it can hurt the brand. It's dangerous. You know, it's easy to, right now it's grown by leaps and bounds for a decade. The question is, are we capped out without changing it, or will it
Mm.
continue to grow? I guess,
Yeah.
smarter people need to figure that out. I just always worry about that, personally, that, you know, what's the experience for people that are going in and, they hit this bad gym and they never go anywhere else. And where those of us had a great first gym, if we went somewhere else and got a bad gym, we were like, okay, bad gym, I'll go find a good one. And we'd go find another CrossFit.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. But I'm just like, my mind always goes to like, I could say the same thing about walking into a gym and meeting up with a 19-year-old personal trainer who's just gotten his certification. He was a shitty trainer and I don't like him or her. And now I don't go to the gym anymore.
Yeah, no argument
It's the
there.
same for every sport. So it's not any different. It's just, it's a well-known, people just love to like hate on it. Since the beginning, they have loved to hate on it. My favorite part of that conversation though, was when he was like, I went and got my L1 to impress a girl. I was like, yes, if that's not the most like early 20s college kid
Right.
thing I've ever heard. Like Matt was trying to get after it and I am impressed with his dedication.
Yeah, I know. No, that was good. But yeah, look, I thought it was interesting to me. I don't know if it's lack of knowledge or just maybe lack of interest in, in like how affiliates are put together and the
Yeah.
training and like that sort of thing. Like he kind of does his own thing, but there's also, for me, that was also very interesting. Like the mind of a champion who's like, yeah, I don't need your programming. I know what works. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That was
Yeah, that was like one of the things we talked about before we hit record. Like you were kind of talking about, like he doesn't waste brain space on anything outside of his or he didn't, when he
yeah,
was training, and obviously he's just kind of coming off of that. Like he doesn't need to know how to run an affiliate. All he needs to know is what to wake up and train that day. He doesn't need to know how to cook 5-star meals. Sammy does
right.
that. He just needs to know that he's got to eat because he's got to train later. So it is so interesting, the mindset of someone who's dedicated so much of his life to something like that, where he's like, I don't need to know that. Like, that's not.
Well, there were many points in the conversation where Rogan would ask him a question, and it was almost like he would just defer to whoever had trained him. Like he didn't really know. It's just like, this is way, someone had told me to do this, and that someone was an expert. And for me, that was really rare to see someone who is, I mean, an A-list champion willing to defer to someone else because he knows that will work. That's really special. Like that's not a complaint in any capacity. Like usually, top tier athletes, they have their way of doing it, and it's hard to kind of get into that inner circle. And to be that trusting was really interesting to me to hear that from him. It was unexpected, but kind of refreshing.
He started in a specialty, right? Like he started in Olympic weightlifting at the Olympic Training Center with the most, skilled and knowledgeable weightlifters out there. I get it. Then that worked for him, and he's an incredible weightlifter, and you got to get better at cardio. So, train with a guy who does Ironmans, who won in Kona, who, we should get him back, when we had Chris Hinshaw on the show and he was talking about training Matt and writing programs for Matt and, like boosting his aerobic capacity, like the science that guy can spit out, it's second nature to him. He understands how lactic acid works. He understands how your lungs work. He understands how the physiology behind how you were built matters. Like he's the one that'll sit there and tell you, like he's had weird x-rays and scans and understands that his lungs are like 20% larger than the average human, which is why he can do better when he like runs and jumps and swims and plays and whatever. So like these people who Matt put trust in, like I think it was a genius move, because this is all they know. It is their lives.
Well, apparently they know Snickers and Coca-Cola are awesome because they had him eating those too. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, you know who else knows that? My baby inside of my belly, because I'm eating such bullshit right now.
I was laughing. He's like, I do, a Snickers bar and a Coke after a hard training session. I'm like, I do that after hard training sessions. It just has nothing to do with training. Like, just because I like Snickers bars and Coke. What can I tell you?
I think of all the memes you put out after this entire debacle, my absolute favorite one was the like the like Leonardo DiCaprio smile, like laughing face
Oh,
on Matt. And it's like all Matt laughing at all the athletes who start eating Snickers bars and drinking soda, and all they do is get really fat.
right. It made me, as soon as he said it, it reminded me of that scene in Mean Girls where they make the girl eat the protein bars thinking they're like diet
Uh-huh.
bars and she puts on all the
Yep.
weight,
All the weight. Yep.
I can just see it now. It's gonna be like these athletes know what's gonna be out there. The only thing that fits me are these sweatpants. It'd be
Is
great.
butter a carb?
No, it's butter a carb. No, it was all very interesting to me
Yeah,
and
it was.
impressive though that
Oh my God.
that he'd kind of gotten to that space where he's willing to trust others so he can just focus on his training, which is very cool.
Yeah.
What do you think of the COVID discussion? They had a long discussion about COVID, which bluntly surprised me. Like, I guess it shouldn't surprise me coming from Rogan because he has a lot of opinions. I didn't see it going there.
Yeah, I didn't either. I mean, I appreciate that I appreciate that everyone has such differing opinions on this because like we've never been in this global situation before. So like I get it. Um I do I'm a very different mindset now than I was 5 months ago because I kind of was a little bit, I mean, we've been very safe since the very beginning, but I kind of was a little bit along the lines of like, I really hope I don't get it. But if I get it, like I'm a young, healthy person. I dedicate most of my life to my nutrition and my fitness. And, I hope that I could just kick it quickly and call it a day. Obviously, I don't want to spread it, whatever. But um, being a high risk situation now, being pregnant, has completely shifted my mentality into a lot more of the like, yeah, I know it's fine for you, but it's not about you. It's about who you may be exposed to directly or indirectly or accidentally, who brings it home to someone like me or someone like your grandpa or someone like, so I've been in a little bit of a different place recently. So it is a little bit difficult to hear sometimes when people are like, whatever, it's not that bad. You just have to be healthy, and sorry if you're not. But I also completely understand where they're coming from and fully agree that we're not doing a great job societally telling people like, yes, wear masks, yes, get the vaccine, but also don't you understand that taking control of your health and wellness is the basis of getting over this? I don't think we're doing a good job with that.
Yeah, it's a weird conversation. Like as I was watching them, I'm like, oh man, here it comes, right? Because
Yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't matter what you say when it
You're going
comes
to
to
piss someone
COVID.
off.
Well, you're gonna
Totally.
have people coming in going, why are you wearing a mask? This is no worse than a common cold. And then, people coming in going 500,000 people dead, and I thought what they were, or at least what Rogan was trying to do, and just set Matt aside, was say, look, he said, I think I'm almost quoting him here, it's not as bad as we were led to believe. Like it's turned out that, yes, people are dying from COVID, but they also have, 2.5 other comorbidities on average. So it's, COVID's what did them in, but had they not had the comorbidities, they probably would have survived. Right. At least that's what he was saying. I don't have any statistics on this, so I can't tell you if that's true or not, but
Yeah. I
I
just think
guess,
it's, oh, you go.
well, I was gonna say, I guess my point to that is like it's such a loaded conversation for two athletes to be having,
Totally.
right? Like there wasn't anything that was good that was going to come from it, and I even saw it in my comments today. Like, people going, well, I'm really disappointed because Matt says, he doesn't give a f about COVID. I'm like, that's not what he
He
said.
didn't say that.
Well, I went back and listened. So after I read that, I'm like, did he? Because it's a long interview. I drifted off a couple of times, so I went back and found it, and he didn't know. What he said is like
No.
when he got it, he sequestered himself from everybody else. Basically trained at home, lived at home. Had very little contact with anyone. Sammy started doing his massages instead of using his masseuse. He's got a sauna
Right.
at home. Like I'm sitting there going, man, this guy's got the life.
I know. Can't
But
even get Matt to rub my feet.
I
Fuck's
know,
sake.
man. I need somebody cooking me meals and have a sauna
I
out back.
know.
But all I got to do is win 5 CrossFit games.
That's
Anyway,
it.
that's
Not
it.
that hard. Come on.
Yeah, but then he, and what he actually said was after he had his negative test to go to the games, then he didn't give an F about
Yeah.
himself.
About
It,
himself, which
yeah,
is like fine. Everyone can do whatever the hell they want on their own.
yeah, and he actually said, I wasn't being uncautious. Like I was still, keeping myself away from other people. But he wasn't worried because like his viewpoint was he's healthy and
Yeah.
it's something that he'll easily get past. And he was clearly right, at least,
Yeah.
for himself. It's just one of those issues. Like it's kind of a no-win situation, particularly when you're a high level athlete like Matt, or even, a high personality like Joe to have, because you're not advancing the conversation, if that makes sense. So you're just creating creating drama on both sides a little bit, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah. I mean, I like listening to people talk about it, whether I agree with them or not. Like there's so many different viewpoints out there. And at this point, like, it is what it is. Everybody thinks differently and everybody's over it. Like at least that we can all fucking agree on. I just think that a lot of times we forget, we within this community, because we're focused on health, we're focused on wellness, even if we're not super healthy now, we are trying to be, right? That's like the point of walking into a CrossFit gym every day. And I think we forget that like the other 90% of America is not like us, and they won't go to a CrossFit gym and they want a magic pill. And we still have a duty to keep people safe from dying. So it's just hard. Like you said, it's a loaded conversation. And I don't disagree with a lot of what they said. I just don't think it applies to the greater populace, which is unfortunate.
Well, look, I thought the only part of it that was disappointing to me wasn't the fact that they were having the conversation. I thought it was a missed opportunity when they started talking about comorbidities. It would have been a really simple time for Matt to go, "Hey, I have a solution for that." Right? It's called CrossFit.
It's called winning the CrossFit Games 5 times. Oh, it's walking into a CrossFit gym. Got it.
Yeah, like, I mean, we'll talk about this more, but I don't think he's our brand ambassador. He doesn't have to, go out and preach the gospel of CrossFit. But I do think it was an opportunity, and they did touch on it, that hey, if people would start focusing on their health,
Yeah,
they would, you could eliminate some of this and not just wait on a shot to cure it. I would have liked to have heard more discussion about CrossFit and what it does. I'm not sure. I mean, that's not his forte. Right? I'm not defending him here. It's just not his forte. Like, you need somebody on from CrossFit Health as an example, maybe, to talk about that.
totally. Yeah.
It was just, I would have loved to have heard more about how CrossFit has helped people with comorbidities, but again, it wasn't what he was there for.
Yeah, it wasn't the point of it. I want both. I want the vaccine and I want to go to the CrossFit gym every day. I want both.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to wear a mask. Really don't want this shit. Really don't.
I did think the conversation at the end got really interesting. I didn't feel like it wasn't surprising, but, Joe brought it up. He kind of started down the path of, Glassman, because I think he knew that. And it appeared as if, whether somebody's given him show notes or he did his own research, I don't know. Like he had at least a sense of what had happened.
Yeah.
With CrossFit early on, but then, then it got into the discussion with Dave, which is where all the drama over the weekend came up.
Oh, I know. It's like, I hate the drama. I just want it to go away.
Well, I mean, first of all, I didn't think what Matt said was drama laden in any capacity.
Yeah, I agree. The internet blew it up way more than
I thought Dave blew it up. My opinion.
Oh, really? I didn't think so at all.
Yeah, Dave posted he posted a couple of things on his Instagram page.
Yeah, but Matt went on Joe Rogan.
I understand.
Like,
but he posted things out of context and got people fired up before he had actually listened to it. It's like,
I don't know.
And, and I think he was arguing semantics. I guess that was my problem, is like, and I've said this on a different podcast. And for the record, I really like Dave. I think he's a fantastic programmer. I've met him one time. He was a great coach, by the way, like a spectacular coach. He was super friendly. High-fived me for kicking my ass on a trail run. Like I could, there's nothing bad I had to say about him the one time I met him. Right. But I thought he ginned up some drama that didn't need to be ginned up. And he was arguing semantics over the one thing that Fraser said was, there was an article that he wrote. He said he wrote an article about me saying that I've been slipping, when Dave didn't write the article. Morning Chalk Up wrote the article, right? It's just, it's just the way people talk. Like I would talk that way, like you say he instead of they, and that became Dave's argument. And it's a BS argument, in my opinion. He did say, and is on the record as saying he thought Matt was slipping. And Matt is a top level athlete, like who else does that or would have done that? Michael Jordan. Anyone that ever trash talked Michael Jordan, he would hold on to that shit for years until he beat you in a game.
Yeah.
Like that's what top level athletes do. It's what they do.
Champion's mentality. I get it. I didn't think that anything Matt said was super scathing. either. I thought he was just speaking his truth. And I think, truthfully, as a human on the receiving end of what he said, that I kind of think Dave has every right to go out there and be like, hey, I disagree with how he said this. He went on the biggest podcast in the world and said some shit that I did that I don't feel like I did. So I didn't have any problem with Dave getting out there and being like, not how I see it. Like if one dude's truth, he goes out there and says it, and another dude's truth, and he goes out there and says it. And I'm just, in the comments reading about everyone's reaction. But I didn't think it was a problem. And out of context or not, like we're discussing all these things now. Like I think Dave has every right to go out there and defend himself. And I think Matt has every right to speak his truth and how he felt like it all went down and, how he feels about it.
Yeah, see, I don't agree with that. I think you're full of it.
I want everyone to talk about everything. Come on.
No, look, Castro's a CrossFit employee. He's not freewheeling, able to just argue and fight with athletes at will. There's no other sport that does this in any capacity whatsoever.
Wait, why? Why can't he have his own arguments and make his own statements? And
well, for one, he programs the games for one. So for me, the thought, and Matt said this, I think he's out to get me or he doesn't like me. So imagine if you've got a group of athletes that think Dave is out to get me and doesn't like me because he's making public statements about me. Like I think of Pat, Vellner, and they, had their little tiff over Pat complaining about his programming. I think if I'm remembering right, that's what happened.
I think you're right. Or complaining about, or like the turf on the field or like
something. I don't even at this point, I don't even remember, but Dave took that personally and it, became like kind of a little Instagram battle. Like,
yeah, but like, why can't, if one person is going out and calling him out for all this other stuff, why can't he go out there and defend himself?
They're competing for money, Niki.
Yeah.
In a sport that has rules. This guy does the programming. He controls the rules. Like that was actually kind of Matt's argument. Matt said, like at one point it was Glassman who did it, who said, well, if somebody keeps winning, we'll just change the rules so they're no longer winning.
Right. No, that's fucked up. That's fucked up.
But it's the same thing we're talking about here. Like Dave's in charge. He runs the games. I realize he's not games GM, but he does programming. And imagine, he doesn't, if he truly didn't like you, and I'm not saying he does or doesn't, he could hold those cards. I just think it's a really dangerous proposition in professional sport for money with sponsors, people making their living out of this, to have the person in charge with a vendetta or at a minimum, an argument with an athlete like this. It doesn't happen in other sports. And by the way, it doesn't happen the other direction in other sports either. Like if you were to complain about the commissioner in the NFL, you're going to get fined.
Right. Exactly. Right? And we allow this to happen. And I just don't think that like none of it is beforehand. Like Pat and him's tiff was like, Pat was like, I went out there and I did this thing and, the turf was or whatever, or the programming was like after the fact. Dave, he didn't go in there and Dave didn't like change anything before Pat hit the competition floor. Or like you said, like, Glassman be like, well, if things are going great, then I'm just going to change things before they even step out there on the floor and whatever. That would be totally fucked up. Like, it's always like people talking shit after the fact about the programming or about the this or the that. And like, I don't know. I guess I just feel like Dave has every right to defend himself or to go out there and talk about, whatever he thinks is his truth.
Yeah, but he's not welcome to his own facts. Like his truth and facts are two different things. Like he programs the games, I guess is my point. It makes me really nervous to think the person in charge of the games could potentially have could control someone's career simply because he doesn't like them, if that's the case, or is going to constantly get in battles with people. Not to mention like the growth of the sport. Like how is it viewed? Like we're all insiders. So we're like, oh, that's just Dave. We've known Dave for 10 years. How's it feel when you're Nike and you don't know Dave for 10 years and your top athletes getting railed on by the person in charge of the programming? Like, and I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm just saying that's like potentially
it's not what happened. I don't think going on an IG live where everyone is asking him a million questions about Matt. That's all they ask him. Like, what do you think Matt's going to do? How do you think Matt's going to do? Whatever. I don't think going out there and poking the bear a little bit and being like, I don't know, I think he's slipping, is like railing on your top athlete, Nike. I don't know. I guess I like Dave. I like his character. I like his position in the sport. I like his programming and his smartness. And anyone could have a vendetta against anyone at any point in time. I do agree that that freaks me out, to the way that Matt said it. Like, if someone doesn't like me and he's programming against me, which clearly never happened because he's won 5 times in a row. Like, I agree with Matt's sense in that, like, this is what I do for a living. You guys can't go out there and intentionally fuck it up for me. That's not okay. But like, at any point in time, anyone in any one of those positions has the power to do that. That's the reality of being the commissioner or being the director or being the whatever of sport, of games, of the NFL. We just, there is faith put in those positions and hope put in us that's not happening.
You
And I
know,
don't think it's happening at
you
the
know,
HQ level.
Dave's not going to date you if you keep talking about how great he is, right? He's
Oh, do you
he's not
think?
he's not
Ah,
Nikki.
damn it.
He's not going to
I
drive to
thought
Rhode
really
Island.
maybe I had a shot.
No, it doesn't matter how much you talk about you love him. He's not going to date you. So
On.
I know.
I just don't, I don't, the drama like is not for me. It's like he said one thing, he said another thing, and then the internet just fucking exploded. I'm like, guys, just let these dudes like say whatever, say that what they think is true. Sit there with your popcorn and let's move on.
It makes me really nervous to think that someone employed by the company that puts on the games is going to have interactions like that, public interactions like that with the people competing in the games, trying to earn money in this competition that they're not employees of the firm.
It
It's just,
makes you nervous, or is
yes.
there a part of you that kind of likes it? Is there a part of you that kind of likes
Oh, it's
like the
funny.
interaction and the back and forth and the characters that they all have? And like, I don't feel the need to be exactly the same as every other sport in how we operate.
Well, then maybe we need to quit calling ourselves a professional sport then. Like we got to grow. Like at some point it has to grow. Like I don't know. I reserve the right to be completely and utterly wrong here. I just always
Same girl, same.
I just find it weird that you got the person in charge of the programming's having interactions like this with people in public and and he did gin up the drama. Like he's putting posts on his Instagram page. He has 700,000 followers. Like it's not like he has a small Instagram feed. Like he's got a lot of people that watch him,
Well, do you
you
think
know.
that it's weird that one of the top athletes goes out and speaks his truth against the director of the games? You said in the NFL they'd be ejected.
Yeah, well, first of all, Matt's retired. So if saying things after you're retired is different, I know it's a
What
weird
about saying
distinction,
things
but
about athletes who are retired?
who are you talking about?
Matt, like Dave coming back at Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see that argument, but all the stuff we're talking about here was happening when he wasn't retired,
But
like,
he also wasn't talking about it when he wasn't retired.
yeah, look, I would be totally fine with some sort of, rule where you find them for any kind of, despair. Like, I think a good example of this in a professional sport would be if you're a basketball, football player and you complain about the refs or the umps,
Gotcha.
you are getting fined. Like,
Totally.
it's the same thing. Like, so, in this hypothetical scenario, Pat goes out and bitches about Dave's programming, he gets fined for it.
Right.
I
But
wouldn't.
I like in our sport how you can do that. I like in our sport how you can go out there and be like, I don't think this was a thing. And then someone else can be like, it was or it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too small. Maybe you're right and we can't grow
Well, I don't
in this
know. I mean, it's
mentality.
like there are moments it's funny, but then like we kind of let off this podcast, so we're talking about people complaining about the handstand walk standard and people sending me videos and everybody's bitching everybody else out about moving a hand here, moving a hand there, when it's just follow the rules and it's fine.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I look, for me, I would just like to see maybe a more professional front from the people employed by the company. Like, and I guess my overarching like thought here, Niki, is that what I kept hearing from people over the weekend was Matt should have been a better brand ambassador for CrossFit. That's not his job. He's an
I agree.
athlete. He is
I
not a
agree.
brand ambassador except for Nike. He's a athlete. All he needs to do is go win. That's it.
Yes,
Right.
I agree.
The brand ambassador is Dave Castro. Dave's an employee. He gets a check signed by CrossFit HQ, however often they write those checks. I don't know. Biweekly, I'm guessing. he should be the brand ambassador, and brand ambassadors trying to put a good face on the sport or the company. Don't trash people trying to compete in their sport. Like
I guess
that's my point.
I guess my argument would be like brand ambassadors who have a personality and a presence in the sport and in the media surrounding it have every right to their own opinions and to defending statements being said about them publicly too.
Well, that's
But
why
I
you
do
have
agree
PR
with your
firms.
I like how genuine he is and how real he is. Like I like that. I like his character within the sport and surrounding the sport. But I do agree with you that I don't think Matt needs to be a brand ambassador for CrossFit. I think his honest answers are his truth, and I don't have any problem with it. It made me a little bit, like bummed, where I was like, oh, he doesn't like love us the way we love him.
You mean
But I take that back. That vibe, he did not give off the vibe that he didn't love us. That came out wrong. I guess there was just like, there's a part of me that is like so loving and bubbly about everything that we do that I'm like, everybody loves this, right? And like when they don't, I'm just kind of like, oh yeah.
Hey,
right.
look, everybody loved Glassman until they didn't. That's just a fact. I was the one sat in the room with Glassman and said, Greg, we love it how argumentative you are for the sport of CrossFit and how you
you're
yell
totally
at
right.
people. And I literally said to the dude, we love it when you tweet. Keep tweeting. And look where that got us.
John, you're the reason.
Yes, that's my fear. Is like, that's what comes from this. I'm just looking for a more professional angle. That's if you're going to be the brand ambassador, there, we're talking about missed opportunities here. We missed an opportunity to show how great CrossFit is. And, so people are going over to see what's going on here. And this is what you're getting. It just feels weird. That's my only point. Look, at the end of the day, Niki, I think we can both agree you're wrong and I'm right. I think we can agree on that.
You are probably right about that. I just look, we all have different opinions on all of this stuff, which is totally fine.
I like both of these guys. For the record, I like Dave. I think he's funny. I watch his Instagram live.
He's not going to date you, John. Stop.
I know. I'm not sucking up to him. I watched his Instagram live over the weekend where he's talking about why he's not going to fight Josh Bridges. And he was very self-deprecating. He was talking about his own noodle arms. Like, I thought that was funny. So he does have a good sense of humor. Yeah. And I get that. And, I don't know. It's like, we're not going to solve anything here, I guess.
I guess we're not. It was an interesting listen, though. I encourage everyone to go listen to the last 40 minutes.
I thought it was great. I enjoyed it. I liked listening to Matt. I've always liked listening to him. I think he's got a really interesting story. I think if anyone has complaints about it, they should go listen again.
Yeah.
Because I did listen, I listened to a lot of it twice to make sure I heard what people told me I heard, to make sure they were wrong.
Or at least,
I thought it was good. It was good to see a CrossFitter on there. So good for him.
Totally, for sure.
So did we solve anything? We didn't.
No,
damn thing.
Not a damn thing. But it was an interesting discussion, to say the very least. Hey, do you want to take a hot second to talk about another one of our sponsors tonight?
I would love to. Who are we talking about tonight?
We're talking about UCAN.
UCAN. I used them today.
Oh, what did you use?
I used the orange drink right before my workout. The
orange drink.
Orange drink. It was great. Look, it was great. Like I've said this before. It's got the super starch. That's what it's called, right? And I knew the workout was going to be long. I was riding a bike for close to 40 minutes. I was going to do some lifting, and I'm like, I got to get through. I got to survive. I got to get through this. And so I had one before, and man, that thing levels me right off. It's pushed me right through. Loved it.
I had some of the granola today. And so this is kind of like what I love about the UCAN products and the super starch is that like it gives you energy and it keeps you full, right? So they make powders and they make bars and they make this granola that's really good. And I really like one of those people that eats granola and milk. Do you do that?
Granola and yogurt.
Right. So that's normal. I know I'm like weird. Yeah. I like it. Like I like cereal. Like I like granola and milk. Like I eat it like cereal. But the problem is it's kind of like you eat it and it's delicious and then you're hungry 10 seconds later. And I don't get that vibe with the UCAN products. So with the granola, I ate it before my workout, maybe like 40 minutes before. And I was like, good. I like digested and I was like energetic throughout the entire workout and I wasn't starving right after. And so that kind of is my jam right now. granola and milk. Highly recommend.
Well, I'll give it a try. Well, I find all the UCAN stuff good. I've been doing the powdered drink, the orange drink, and then there's a hydration drink that I also do. I like most things in liquid form, but I did have the granola with my breakfast. So
Oh, you did? In your yogurt?
in my yogurt, not milk. Very
Not milk.
delicious.
I agree. Well,
All right.
you guys can get your hands on some UCAN products if you want. It is ucan.co/wads.
And they get a discount for the wads, right? What's the discount?
Yes.
20%? Am I remembering this right? 20%?
Sounds
Okay.
right. 20% off your first purchase.
Wow. That was exciting. All right. Well, all right. Well, it's been a fun discussion. And then we're going to kick this over to our interview with the girls from Mayhem, right? The women from Mayhem.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun. So we had a chance to sit down with Taylor Williamson and Andrea Nisler a couple of weeks ago, right when they were first announced to the Mayhem team. And we just got up with them about, moving to Tennessee and training with Rich. And I don't know if you guys don't know who they are. They're like probably the best female team athletes in CrossFit history, period. So I was really excited to just get their perspective on everything with the new season coming up.
Yep, it was a fun conversation. So we'll appreciate you guys joining this part of it. We'll kick it over to that and we'll chat with you guys soon.